get started here. I've got to double check that we are recording. Very good. All right, so let's get rocking and rolling. So once again, this is Gordon Corsetti, Manager of Men's Officials Development at US Lacrosse, and we have Jim Carboneau. You can see him on the left there is the senior clinician. We also have Dale Hall. He's going to be the assistant clinician with Jim, as well as the certified observers who are going to be assisting both Jim and Dale. Jim, you mind giving yourself a quick introduction?
Okay, well, I'm up here in Boston, been up in Boston all my life. I started officiating in 1975. I've been very involved with training around the country. I worked with US Lacrosse, and before US Lacrosse was born, I did trainings around the country at Texas A&M, at the Georgia Peach State Classic. Anywhere we had a tournament, we kind of went and did some training. My background, I've been fortunate to ref from the youth level right up through the indoor box and international level. I've been lucky enough to do some NCAA championship games, and been able to travel to Australia, Canada, England, and pretty much 27 out of the 50 states doing lacrosse and being part of lacrosse around the world. So,
Excellent. And I'll just kind of brag on Jim a little bit here. One of the reasons I'm the official that I am today, and also have the skills to grow into the official that I want to be and emulate some of the mentors that are in my game. But Jim's been a great mentor to me, as well as the many officials I've seen him interact with. You guys are lucky to have him coming down because he's no nonsense. He won't pull any punches, but you also know that he's having a lot of fun out there, and really he wants just the best officials possible, and he wants to give everything that he can to make you the best official that he can, or help you get to that point. And Dale Hall is also very much in the similar vein. Dale is a collegiate official, also now indoor official, based in Georgia. He's one of my mentors early on in my career. He goes out to Vail quite frequently, works out with our officials there, as well as attending several other clinics around the country. Dale's also he's a goofy guy, but in the best way. He's very much there's only one Dale Hall. I've never met anybody who doesn't like Dale almost immediately. Just very personable, and he's just got a great way of delivering feedback. Those of you guys who are certified observers who are going to be kind of listening in, Dale is the epitome of doing everything with a smile, which is tough to do sometimes. So those are your two guys. If Dale jumps on board a little later tonight, we'll let him have a few words. Otherwise, you guys will meet him on the 18th. Rich, do you mind just giving a quick heads up on what you and also the names of your certified observers who are going to be working with these guys?
Okay. The tournament, I have the schedule, and I'm working on that now, and I will send that out to everybody. Send it to Mark, and he'll actually send it out. As you know, Jim and Dale are coming down. Lux is already a certified observer, so there are going to be 3 fields. So they're going to be the clinicians on each field. Me, Darren, Dan, Zajac, and Scott Jurovich have gone through the observer course, and we are going to be assisting them and really learning how to be an observer. So the good work that they do while they're down here, we hopefully can continue to do that into the season and then provide more feedback to just help everyone continue to improve. Yeah, I think it's something that'll really help the training. As many of you know, you saw most of your training in a classroom and got very little help when you got on the field. So this is our opportunity to change that and help everyone become a better official.
And I've got to say, it's so those of you guys listening in here, I know the majority haven't had the opportunity to.
Followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a pen.
Hold on a second there.
Pound or hash.
Yeah, that's Dale. Just saw him joining us. Let's see here. This is always a tech. All right, I'm going to mute Dale for a second. Dale, you're muted. We can hear you. We'll jump on. I'll unmute you in a second. All that feedback stuff coming on. All right, so Dale's on board. Yay. All right, good timing, buddy. So yeah, so the goal for us is to observe you guys on the field, and you guys will get the opportunity. You're going to get a lot of feedback. In my experience, it's a lot like trying to drink water through a fire hose. Know that going in. I highly recommend you bring a notepad because you're going to be writing a lot of stuff down. These guys will be focused on the things that get you as good as you can for three-man mechanics, but also game management, general game awareness, and that's something that will only help you improve as an official as you continue to go along in your career. So let's see here. Let's move along our slide. Let's hear if Dale's audio is a little better. Can you hear us, buddy? All right. Well, we'll see if you can, Dale. If you can hear us, join. Just chime on in when you get your audio working, or text me if you got issues. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right, so a couple expectations here. This is kind of the one quote that I like. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. I guarantee you guys will be challenged at this clinic. The idea on this one is that anytime you come to a Laredo clinic, you are working every game from the whistle until the very last horn, and even then some, just as if you were reffing your state, state final. That is the objective. So the idea is to hustle your butt off at every opportunity that you can, interact in a professional manner, and give the players 100%. Because this is, when we're doing everything to the best of our ability, they have a better game. So a couple things here. This is really from a couple of your colleagues who have been to clinics before, have listed as their best things to have at this clinic. Is a great attitude, just be able to listen. Jim, Jeff, Rich, all the other certified observers, the guys who have been through clinics before, all of them have a lot of different experience to share with you. And the biggest thing that I can tell you is that if the roles were reversed, the exact same thing would happen. You just can't see yourself on the field. Even when you're watching video, it's tough to kind of break some stuff down. But when you have somebody whose sole job is to watch you as an official, and this person has 10, 15, 20, 30-plus years of experience, they're going to make you that much better. They're going to see things that you haven't even considered. I know that from my clinic experiences. I still know that from when I get evaluated in my college games. Like, you just don't see some of the things that you're doing, and this is where you're going to hear about those things. So part of it's about a little bit being humble, listening. Jim, what do you think? What's one of the big pitfalls for the officials? The yeah, but guy, right? You want to talk about him for a sec?
Yeah, the person that is at the Laredo to prove to himself that he's good, and that he's just looking for confirmation that he's good. And when we come up with, well, what did you see here, and why did you do this, and what's this, they come up with excuses, not reasons. Yeah, I saw that, but I just didn't think it was necessary to call. Yeah, buts. And instead of admitting they kicked the call, or admitting that's something that's new to them, they didn't think of that. They're looking for validation instead of improvement, and that's not what we're looking for.
And that's probably one of the biggest things. We know you guys coming down here, you want to get better, and you wouldn't be in this spot if you didn't want to. My challenge to kind of all of you is to assume the role of a beginner, not in terms of your officiating, but just in terms of what you're going to get out of this, how you're approaching each game, and what you're going to get back from Jim, Dale, and the other observers. So the other big thing is to adjust. Some things you might be told that, it's happened to me. We've seen it at clinics where that's been the way things have been done for a couple of years, but hasn't been the way things have been done in the last few years, and it just hasn't trickled to where you are right now. So if these guys tell you something, just file it away, adjust, and make that happen. Communicate as a crew. We'll be talking about that a good bit. A couple of you guys have asked some questions on some of that communication. We'll get to some of that. And then the last bit is have fun. I mean, this is going to be a jamboree type environment. You guys are going to be hustling. The players are going to be having a good time because they haven't picked up sticks in a while. So all of this kind of builds in for a chance that we're all going to have this good experience here. We're all going to get better as a result, and that's what we're going to do. Right, so
Gordon, did you get the text from Dale?
Can you guys hear me at all?
There we go. Hey, buddy.
I'm on.
All right, we got you. Well, all right, so good stuff, Dale. Well, we got Dale Hall on. I already sang your praises a little bit earlier.
Thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate it. Whatever you said, Gordon, I'm sure it's all true.
well, you just want to give these guys just a heads up on why you're coming down.
Well, I'm coming down because, for one thing, Gordon asked me, and I haven't been down there before, so that's obviously a reason. No, I really think it's important as you start getting more and more into lacrosse that you share your knowledge and experience with the people around you. You're going to be learning so much when you're down there. It's important that all the people that are there take back things that they learned to the people they're working with, whether they be seasoned professionals or whether they be people just starting out. So share your knowledge with everyone. And you'll also find that you'll find some nuances between what Gordon might say to you or what Jim might say to you and what I say to you. We all have different styles that we'll work with. So take the bits and pieces of everything, like Gordon said, store them away and take them out to work with your game to the best of your abilities.
Good stuff. I like that. I might clip that for a soundbite. Thanks, bud. All right, so this is known as the 7 C's. There's an article, if you haven't read it already, check out uslacrosse.org. It's the 7 C's of officiating, written by Mike Highland. He's one of our other senior clinicians in the Laredo program. And they are competence, communication, compassion, consistency, confidence, conviction, and courage. Jim, which one of these really jumps out to you, or is your kind of big ticket?
I'm glad. I'm going to highlight a couple of them. But
Okay.
I do encourage everybody to get that article. I talked to Mike the other day. That was one of the best written articles I've seen regarding commitment, clinicians in lacrosse and improving the game. And so on. Really good stuff. The things I'm going to look at Saturday is number one. First is competence. We want and expect you people to know the rules and have the ability to cover the field. We also expect you to look good in uniform. Don't show up like Joe Crap, the ragman. Communication is huge. We expect you to communicate with your crew constantly on and off on the field, dead ball, live ball. We expect you to communicate with the players and have proper communications with players and coaches. We'll be highlighting that, and we'll explain that as we start every game. Confidence, we expect you to be the leader out there. You're the game manager. You're the person in charge. All 3 of you on the field are going to be working together as a unit, as the 3rd team on the field, and we expect that to be leadership is confidence, communication is leadership, and courage. Make the right calls, do what is right, and have the courage to take charge. So that's what we're looking for quickly in a nutshell. We could go on for about 45 minutes on this presentation, but I'm going to hit those 4. Competence, communication, confidence, and courage. And Dale, you're going to bump in on the others, that's fine, but I'm looking for that stuff.
Continue on, gents. We've got a short term to get through all this. I don't want to hold us down on these.
Gotcha. There, I'll just make a note that I'll also add. I'll send you guys the link to that article as well if you haven't seen that in the email tonight. So, all right, moving on. Mission of our mechanics. Now we are going to move through these mechanics very quickly. This is more for you guys to ask us questions as opposed to us giving the just fundamentals or ins and outs of these mechanics, because we have the 3-person mechanics webinar that's already goes through all of this in detail over the course of an hour. So if you guys have any issues at all getting to learning.uslacrosse.org and pulling up that webinar, please send me an email, give me a call. My extension's 177. You can reach me. I'll get you the stuff that you need. But you need to watch that before this clinic, just so we know that we can say that all you guys are operating from the same baseline knowledge. But the overall mission of our mechanics is that we are in position and that we hustle to get to position. That might be one of the single biggest critiques that we give out at Laredo clinics, is officials who walk either from the midline to the end of the wing line, or just walk from single all the way from the cone all the way towards the crease. If you're walking, if you're killing grass, you're going to hear about it, and it's not going to be a positive critique. So the goal here is to hustle where you need to be, get there, then officiate. Safety, of course, it never ever goes away for us. It is the most important thing for us. You cannot have a safe game if the officials are not in position. You might make the call correctly a couple of times, but more often than not, you're going to get burned. So safety is influenced by having a lot of hustle and being in the right position, and certainly knowing the rules and knowing the game situation. Fairness, all your technical fouls. This is where, and being in a three-person game, you can see a lot more. If the communication is there, the crew tends to do a very good job on here. The one thing for fairness you guys will probably note is how Jim and Dale give you some advice on using technical fouls to control the game. Some of you guys have probably gotten that from the last couple of clinics you've been to. Jim, you just want to speak a little bit to how technical fouls can be utilized?
I get technical fouls at game management. If the ball's on the ground and it's getting rough, blow the whistle, put the ball in somebody's stick. If the game's getting out of hand score-wise, get the ball in the stick of the team that's losing. It's not like you're cheating, it's you're giving them a chance, and if they have the ball, they're not going to hit anybody, and if they're getting beat by 10, 12, 14 goals, well, they're going to give the ball up anyways. So putting the ball in their stick calms them down and gives them a sense of encouragement and hopefully manages the game. Technical fouls can be used to control coaches, can be used to control players. You know, use it in the toolbox.
And I think one of the things that, we'll, again, giving you guys as much from what we've seen at other clinics, so you guys are forewarned and prepared, is that typically when you let those play-ons go on for too long, bad things tend to happen. So typically the shorter those go, especially if they're an east-west play-on or something along the line, definitely around the crease, it's more play whistle than anything else. But you guys will be having a lot more you'll get plenty of good feedback on that, because that's one of the areas, like, we all know what the safety calls are. That's not hard to get. But the right technical call at the right time, depending on what's going on, it starts to become the mark of a more seasoned and capable official. And then the last thing here is consistency. Jim already touched on that, so we won't harp here. But if you're doing all the things to get yourself into position and you're focused, you're paying attention, you're communicating with your crew, there's going to be consistency. What I've found, and certainly my experience, and also being a camper at these clinics as well as an observer, is that the officials who don't communicate or communicate less than the officials who do communicate and make it a point to do that, they have less consistent games overall. So the more time you're using a dead ball breaks, timeouts in between games, in between quarters, having a good pregame, the more you're communicating, the better that game's going to be from a consistency standpoint.
And communication is verbal and nonverbal. You're always looking for your partners to see where they are and what they're doing and what they're looking at, so that you can then adjust your positioning, your awareness to what they're doing. After every whistle, whether you're starting play with the whistle or stopping play with the whistle, you're looking to your partners after the whistle to see where they are, what they're reacting to, where they're going. And instead of just blowing your whistle, turning around and jogging someplace with your head down. You're always aware of what your partners are doing and where they are and what they're looking at.
And I've got to say, my one little other bit on here to that point is, and it happened to me at the clinic I went to, the level 3 out in Vail several years ago, where I became aware that all of a sudden I can look to my partners at least once a game. And it's like it had done years for just like seemed like reffing on my own, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, these guys are in front of me. I can look to them every now and again and know we're a team, and that certainly helped me out. So you get a lot more aware of your partners. They become a lot more aware of you, and the game is better as a result.
It's also a good thing. It's also a good thing, Gordon, to talk with your partner sometime during the game, saying, "Hey Jim, how you feeling? You all right? We're gonna make sure, or this Gordon, you set up the ball this time. The ball's over by you. It'll be your start." Just communicate to let your partner know that you're in it together.
That's the biggest, especially towards, for me, that always is an important thing towards the very end of games or very key moments towards the end of periods is, if we've had a goal, it's, I say it all the time, I toss the ball to my partner, it's like, hey, let's stay frosty, let's be aware, it's just anything that you can do as a crew, especially if you're the crew chief, if you're the R, to keep the crew on point and focused. Just quickly here on this one, responsibilities, I'm going to blow through this one. Lead, you've got the goal and the end line. The single has the shooter, he's one set of eyes on that in most situations, has the far sideline, and is also doing all the counts. We're high school rules, NFHS rules at the tournament or at the jamboree. So it's 20 to touch or 20 to clear, 10 to touch it in. You've got it on the timer, and then you've got the visual count of the 10. So you're watching all that. Trail's got the 4-second count if we're bringing that one up. And speaking of the trail, trail has the shooter. Trail has the shooter. Trail has the shooter. I will never not stress that enough. It's, even in every game I do today, I'm on the trail, I'm watching the shooter, and I think he's going to shoot. I say shooter, shooter, shooter. It's the only way I stay focused on him. Dale, what's the way from an observer that we can tell that the official is not watching the shooter?
It's so obvious, and it makes us laugh because the trail, his head will turn, and the brim of his hat will follow the ball. The brim of your hat should always stay on the shooter. It's easy to tell for us.
And I think I've got a video that shows that pretty clearly because we've got a few clips from some clinics that we've had over the last few years. And, yeah, you'll see it, and that's going to be the critique. It's like, hey, you were ball watching on a pass or on a shot. And it's like, how did you know? Well, the brim of your hat turned this way. But you should have been staying on him. So just talk to yourself. That'd be my biggest bit of advice. If you're having trouble ball watching or not watching the shooter when you're supposed to, just tell yourself, and it's no problem. If people think you're crazy, they already don't think much of us as officials. Just talk to yourself more. It's fun. The other big one is the opposite goal, and over and back has kind of changed our mechanics a little bit from the trail position. If you guys can see my mouse on here, traditionally we were like right above the box, pretty much the same mechanic we'd have in a two-person crew. But with the over and back and also how fast the game has gotten with pushing it in transition, we've been getting a little bit higher and higher up to the point that the trail is pretty much in a good spot right at the wing line. And you're still moving down, up, in, out, depending on the play. But you need to be at that distance. So in the words of one of my mentors, you see the big picture of the whole field because we've got single and lead right on goal. Jim, anything else on the trail spot from that positioning point of view?
No, just again, we expect the trail to be either at the end of the wing line or midway between the end of the wing line and the restraining line, five yards in from the box line. That's optimal. Now, if you're old like me with metal hips, you might want to be back toward the midline a little more because, again, the most important thing you will have is your own goal. So depending on your abilities to transition, the individual will set his most comfortable spot. And again, part of the idea of where you're going to stay is your anticipation and awareness of as soon as that shot's taken, if it's a good game, as soon as that shot's taken, the trail's backpedaling. He's walking backpedaling toward the midline. Goalie makes the save. He's 5 yards from the midline. Goalie throws an outlet pass. He's already at midline or below. He's not waiting for the defenseman to catch a pass and move up. He's already moving. He's got to get to his goal line. You've got the single and the new trail that's got plenty of eyes to cover what you're leaving.
And I'll add to that with the single, that's another spot where you have to anticipate and be moving. If there's a shot, you should be watching where you have to and then start making your way back towards the midfield to get to that, especially if it's a fast outlet. And on an over and back, that's the biggest critique, that the single side has to get back. He's hustling his butt up to get back to midfield to help the trail for that over and back also. Because depending on how you set up the mechanic, that single could be the one to blow it back in, and he's got to be in the position.
If the ball is heading toward the midline, either on a player running it, throwing it, rolling it, kicking it, the trail and the single have to be moving with it, with the ball between them. Has to be moving.
Well, here's I was going to say these videos to the end, but I think this fits in better for what we're doing. So this is a three-man game. We've got the lead way down here. There was a contested play that he had to watch. Singles closest to your screen. You're going to see the new lead, the former trail, in transition here. So this might be a little choppy. Don't worry. I'll be sending you links to all these videos so you guys can watch this and kind of like draw your own conclusions. But just watch how much this official hustles up the field, doing a quick little back pedal.
Good positioning. Now he's getting caught. Yeah, that's how fast this game is. Good positioning.
Yeah, so he ends it very, very well. And this is, again, it goes fast. Like sometimes you're going to get caught. It just is what is. But this guy did a good job. He's staying focused. He's not stopped officiating. His head is up. And he's busting his butt to get down to that pipe because he's the only one who can help on this play. And then fortunately, timeout's called, and then we can kind of settle down and catch our breath. But he did the right thing in terms of let's bust butt and focus so that the play comes to him and that we have that goal covered as the trail.
And here's a strange thing that it happens. The longer and longer that you stay with this and you learn more and more, the players stay the same age. They continue to stay, and they continue to be able to move faster up the field, and we tend to slow down. So you have to anticipate a lot more and adjust your position, and as your game ages.
Got to agree with that. So just real quick on and off responsibility. Again, you guys can cover more of this in the webinar. But the main thing, guys, as I move this around, is that you guys see that we're all three of us are moving as a team. Now, it might just be that we're having to follow the play as the ball moves around, but we're always maintaining this triangle with the lead either a step above or a step below goal line extended. Whichever one you are doesn't matter. I prefer to be a step below officiating more often than not, but sometimes the play dictates.
Or further. Or
further. Yeah, it just depends on your comfort level and also what the play's doing. But I think I'd like to talk because we had David Ratner wanted to, real quick. So Steve wanted to know, Luxon, how the single side roll has kind of evolved to being closer and closer to the crease. Jim, you want to talk about, because we used to be like 7 yards away. Now we're pretty much at the top of the crease.
Up high, but now if you reason, if you're above 7, 8 yards above goal line extended, all the players in front of you and all the players with the ball or going to the net are running away from you. So all you see are the backs. You don't see the front of the player. You don't see the contact initiated by the offensive player or the defensive player, because all you're looking at are the backs of jerseys. So by rolling the single side down to a yard or two above goal line extended, and then not squaring up, but positioning on almost like a 45-degree angle, so he's looking up through into the substitution area. He sees all the play coming toward him instead of running away from him. So all the play that's coming from bench side toward the goal is coming at him, not getting a sideline view or a side view of him. He sees everything happening to him. And we want the single side. When that ball is where that midi dot is, and before when he was even further onto the into the alley area, that single side there should be able to walk in and put his foot into the crease without having anybody behind him. We're not impacting any passing lanes. That's how close we want the single side to be at times. And then as the ball rotates forward closer to the net, the single side backs out toward the side and in toward the alley. But he never, ever gets into the alley unless the ball is there with him. He's always in as tight as he can be without impacting a passing lane.
The best mental tweak I could give that has helped me out is I don't think of myself as the single side official anymore. I think of myself as the second lead official.
Absolutely.
And that completely revamped my idea of that position and got me more comfortable and expecting of myself to get toward that crease line, because if that lead is sucked way down to either to the far cone like he is in this example, we need that goal coverage. That's the whole point of a three-person crew, other than having an extra eye on the shooter, is that we have an extra eye on the goal and the crease. So when that lead isn't near there.
In this video, in this presentation here, we've got L out in the alley.
Yeah.
I would prefer him even to be right below the M.
Right. Yeah, that was something I was going to add. The trail has that sideline.
The trail has the sideline. Trail has the alley. Lead should be right below the M. And
there are times where you'll pass and you'll let the M go around you, and the L will go to the end line and let it pass in front of you, because the trail has that sideline. So you can let it sweep and then go back in towards the crease.
All right. So moving ourselves on, this is covered in detail in the webinar. If you guys have questions on the ball exchange, go ahead and type them in now or raise your hand. We're not going to cover that here because we got videos galore on this stuff at USLacrosse.org.
Lead picks the ball up and becomes the single. Lead picks the ball up and becomes a single, and he does the face-off.
Yep. So
now the only time this tweaks again is when you have communication. If that lead left has been in that rocking chair for a whole quarter, then you guys know about it. You should have switched out sometime around in there to get the players to have a different face-off individual there and get someone else involved in the game, because the person in the rocking chair gets lost in the game and their mind starts to wander, and you don't want that. That's where communication comes in.
And it can also be nice if you are in that rocking chair for a while, if you ask your fish partners, hey guys, I've kind of been here for a while, maybe, and so that's nice to have happen. And then the opposite of that is when you ask, like, hey, do you want to get involved in the game? He's like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, that ain't right. So Justin Perkin asked, and we'll kind of clarify this, if the lead has goal line extended, is it a good mechanic to position yourself slightly above or slightly below goal line extended? Absolutely. Like I said before.
Question, Gail, was that you opening a beer? That noise that was there?
No, I think I tried to mute it. I was coughing.
So as far as a step above or a step below, you don't want to be directly on goal line because you're blocked by the pipe, especially if you have some type of close, slow roller ball or weird ricochets. You want to at least be able to see the whole goal line, and you can see that if you're a step or two above. You can see that line looking down at the goal, or if you're below, which is my preferred position, it's just where I'm most comfortable, you can see through the net. But there may be...
You be ahead of it, be above it.
Yeah. Yeah, if somebody's crawling around the right side of the cage and I'm lead left, I'm going to go above goal line extended because he's going to shoot and it's going to miss me. But if it's the other side, I'm probably going to go down because that shot's going away from me.
That all
it really is
on the level of play.
Yeah.
You don't know where the ball's going to go sometimes. You got to be quick.
So again, as far as face-offs go, this is just the ball. If it's going to go to one side of the field or not, if you're lead left, if the ball's going to be in front of you, you just want to work outside the play. That's the biggest thing to get from this particular graphic is that we're going to maintain this wide triangle. If lead gets sucked out or pulled down the goal line, single is always covering. That goal line extended and trail is coming up nice and slow on a jog from the wing line.
In this tournament, on the face-off, go back to the other, just to set up the lead left.
Yeah.
Lead left, I would prefer if you're beyond the wing players, especially if they're the ones behind you, so that if they're wide on the wing, get out below them so that they're not running in and running up your back. So if they're tight on the midline, you can stay in a little bit. But if they're at the end of the wing line, get where this lead left is now, just to protect the safety for preservation of yourself.
And you also want to look at what is going on those wings. If they're uncontested and there's 5-10 yards apart from them, you know they're not going to have much going on. But if you notice that they're starting to get closer and they're within a step of each other, that's the wing you want to kind of move closer to and let them know you're there.
Right.
Good stuff. It's just an awareness. We had one of our good buddies get run over as the lead left official and broke his shoulder and collarbone, I think. It's just one of those, it's a dangerous situation because everybody's moving. So if you can keep your eyes on those wing guys just as a quick heads up before the face, set your positioning accordingly, you're going to have a safe day. Oops, sorry. There we go. All right, so moving ourselves along here. Crease play. Oh, wait, hold on. Question here. Jim here. So the question from David, on a face-off, does the lead left come in and help adjust sticks?
Great question. Lead left comes in and makes sure that the face-off man fronting him is legal. His gloves are set, his head is set, his back, his left foot is not on the line, his gloves are proper, so on. We don't want him touching, adjusting sticks. We want the single side to have the final say, because he's the one that's putting the ball in the sticks, and he's the one blowing the whistle, and he's the one that's going to make the initial call if necessary. So the lead left is standing there. He's making sure the guy in the white, his gloves are good, his helmet's good, all that stuff. And then he'll just say to the single, my guy's good or I'm good, and he starts backing out to get out of the way.
Now, stop right there. There's the butt end of that one stick, and I don't know if you can see it there. Yeah, that butt end, it should be pushed forward. And that's a spot that's missed on occasion because the guy that's doing the face-off is worried about the heads and the sticks. Everybody's got to be looking at that, and that could be, the other official looking down the line saying,
lead left is fronting the red shirt, and he's getting him set. Now, single is in charge of the white and the white's butt end. Then he puts the ball in, blesses him, backs out. Right now, lead left's getting out of the way. Blesses him, backs out and blows.
And kind of one thing, again, just so you guys are aware from a communication standpoint in the pregame, is, say whatever, when I'm lead left and I'm ready to go, I just look to my partner and says, I'm good, and then I move away, and then I get to where I want to be for the face-off. The key thing here is that we don't have two guys giving two sets of instructions to both players or the same player at the same time. So let lead left do his thing. Let him leave.
Lead left takes care of red. Lead left takes care of red.
There we go. Gets him set. You come in, get the other guy set. Everybody's happy. You put the ball in, bless them, and go on. All right. So, a little bit on some crease play here. Biggest thing to be aware of, as far as just the thing to keep in your mind, is if the ball's coming at you, you have the feet. If the ball's moving away from you, you have the body. So when you're actually on the field, the thing you can say to yourself is, if the guy's running towards you, just say feet, 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 and you're going to look at those feet. And if he's moving away from you, you're just going to say body, 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 and you're going to look to that body. And I still do that in every single game that I do, whether that's a U11 or a D2 game. That's just what it's. You make that an automatic thing so that you're focused on the right stuff. So in this example here, lead's going to crash the crease, single's going to crash in the crease a little bit behind the player. Lead is going to be looking at the feet of the player running toward the crease. Single's going to be looking at the body. And we've crashed the crease. We've brought our eyes a little bit closer to this all-important area of the field, and we're staying focused on the play. The opposite version. Oh, go ahead.
On that situation, go back to the previous, and this is lead right there before we started the movement, should probably have his right toe in the crease right at goal line extended. If the ball's way up there, he should be in there looking out at a 45-degree angle. Everybody should be in front of him. Now as the guy crashes, he adjusts his situation, boom, and we got a great play.
So more right about here at the start of it, and if you need to move up or down, depending on what's going on.
Up or down, yep.
He's going to move. So I did that animation
right.
move. So you guys get the idea. But I'll have to tweak this slide. I think that is a good thing to do there.
And right here, it's real good. This is perfect. Perfect. Yeah. He goes down below goal line extended with the ball. And now if the ball crosses to the other side, he goes right to the crease.
Did you have him run through the crease there, Gordon?
The
ball.
No. He's he's in the air above it. He never actually touched it.
Wait, that was the stick, no feet.
Yeah, exactly. Just remember, as it's going away, crash the crease, get in tight. Single's always helping out, so lead you can always drop to goal line extended. Probably the biggest thing that we see in officials who are new to three-man mechanics or coming to a level 3 clinic is that they get stuck on goal line extended. I think I got a video example of this one. Yeah, lead stuck on goal line. This is from, if I can get this going. So we have single, the ball is far side, right below the 20-yard line. Here's our single side official on the far side of the field. And you can see lead right by the orange crease. And the line goes right through the Ohio State end line there. It's just a run of cones. But the issue here...
working to get in front of them. He should be getting down toward the 10. No, you're going to... Now he should get down toward the 10. He should be at the 10 right now, crashing in.
Well, we really don't have any of that. Single's not doing much in lead. We have a contested play on the end line, and lead is just kind of there. And then he makes a call. It's a tip call.
Lead should be at the S of state.
Yeah. By the time we're here, like, where would you rather the officials be right in this moment, Jim?
Lead should, like I said, lead should be at the goal line or at right about the S. Single side should be at the 10 or lower, because they're below. And as the play winds back around, if it goes down there, here comes the single, should be crashing right at the 10-yard line, crashing in. And lead should be expecting them to swing around to him. So he's in pretty good position now if they keep moving.
If I may add to that, another thing the single's not doing is the ball's almost at the sideline. If you're going to make a call on the sideline, be at the sideline. Be on that line and make the call back in, as opposed to looking back. The goal line official making a call all the way across the field, as opposed to being on the line and looking down the line when you make that call.
Single isn't as mobile as we want him to be.
Correct.
And that's one of the things.
Going out of bounds, and he's 7 yards.
Yeah. It's like if you're a coach and you're like you got a legitimate gripe to your trail official, like, come on, that's my team's ball, and you can't say it's easy when your partner's in position and you're as the trail, you can go, coach, he's right there. But in this situation,
you got three players on the end line, and you got the closest official is 15 yards away.
Yeah,
that's acceptable.
Yeah, so this would be a ding on both the lead and the single side official. In a post-game observation. You want to move to improve. You'll hear that Jimmyism or Carbonism plenty this coming weekend. But neither of these officials are moving to get to a better spot to view where the play is going to go. So it goes back to that anticipation thing that Jim and Dale mentioned earlier. I don't have any other questions going on that. So a little bit on slow break. Let's see. Oh, wait, we have a question. Let's see. Boyd Guide. Let's see. Boyd Guy wants to know, if the offense with the ball, if the offense has possession and they're below goal line extended, but it's not contested, there's no need to drop as low. Is that correct?
The lead doesn't have to drop as low, but he's got to be below, so that when the if the player cuts to his side, he cuts in front of him, and then he just steps behind him and walks in with him.
And then the second question would be, if it becomes contested, if the defender starts, if you see somebody decide, like, I'm going to go play him behind, would you drop lower then to watch that play?
Absolutely. If there's a play on the goal end line, you're at the end line.
When you're on the field as an official, and you relax and you're not anticipating something, that's when things go wrong. So don't just say, I should be standing here because of this. If it's not contested, anticipate that there's going to be a quick poke check, and then the ball will roll, the end line will be contested. So anticipate what may happen and be there.
We always want the ball between the two on officials. So if the ball's at the goal is at the end line, that means the trail's got to be there. I mean, the lead's got to be there with it, or else the ball's not between the two on officials.
So moving into slow break here, because I think that was the last question on that section. William Gallman and Dave Ratner both kind of asked this question, and it applies to transition. So we already know in a slow break that we're working already to stay a line ahead of the ball as single, 2 lines ahead is the lead, and lead's whole goal is just to get to goal line. Before that play is really up to midfield, ideally, as it's moving up. So this is where we're wanting to finish. But when we have a slow break, and ignore this midfield guideline for a second. Actually, I'm going to move up.
As you adjust that, I want to make sure that people understand getting to these positions doesn't mean as the single you jog or make brisk steps up to the wing line, then stop and walk to the cone. You run to the cone. That's where you take that breath. Almost every single time during these games, these guys will jog 3/4 of the way, stop, and walk the last 5 steps. That's a major ding. Jog or run to where you need to be, then stop and catch your breath. If you need to, hold that cone a second or two and catch your breath.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the cone, let the ball pass you, and then now the ball's between the 2 on officials again, and you go in with it. The expectation is in every transition, you never stop officiating. You never put your head down, square up, and jog with your head down to your position. And then once you get to your position, you stop, you look up, locate the ball again. That means you've stopped officiating for 3, 4, 5 seconds, and that's a killer situation. You're getting to the, as a single, you're getting to the cone, you're backpedaling as the transition begins. You hit the restraining line with a back pedal or a side run, and then you square your hips, but you keep your head swiveled to watch the ball, watch the players. You hit the cone, you square up at the cone, the ball passes you across midfield, you turn, you jog down the sideline and into the box, and 2 yards above goal line extended, crashing in, and then you square up and you look through your area into the substitution area. That's how you're looking. You're not perpendicular with the lines. You're more at a 45-degree angle.
A basic rule of thumb in the transitions like this is you are running ahead of the ball and you're jogging behind it. You're never walking.
Yeah.
But if you're ahead, you run. You jog. Typically, or if you're behind the ball, typically you jog behind it.
Yeah. Trail never gets ahead. Never gets above the ball. Trail never gets above the ball.
Or passes another individual if they can help.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, in this, we'll just kind of set this one up quickly here, but 2 officials asked about this, and kind of in 2 different ways. So, let's just say this is a fairly normal out of bounds, like the ball goes out of bounds in below the midfield line, but above the restraining line along the far sideline. If we were doing like by the absolute book mechanic, which says the official furthest or behind the ball restarts it, it'd be the trail. But what's the most common sense thing for the official to restart play? It's going to be the single side official.
Single side with communication.
Yeah.
As soon as the ball goes out of bounds, as I said, you're looking for your partners. Single side blew the whistle, blew the ball out of bounds. He immediately looks to the trail and taps his chest and say, "My whistle in." Taps his chest, "My whistle in." His hands in the air, his whistle's in the mouth. The kid steps in, he crushes it, puts the 20 on, and we go from there. But that has to be the communication. As soon as the ball goes out of bounds, whistle blows, single and trail are looking at each other for communication.
And that's not always 100%. I mean, that's typically what we would do, and as you work with people, you get to know their tendencies. But if the trail is the one that's ready, he's like, I got it. Don't sit and argue over it. Just get the ball into play. So communicate. But typically it would be the single.
And it's, from the, actually, I wonder if, do I have a transition? I think I might have gotten one. No, that was the, no, so that's all right. But the, and one of the other officials on here, William, asked, hey, who's responsible for blowing the ball out of bounds or inbounds in overlap areas, areas where, typically where there's a cone involved. And that really does have a lot to do with your pregame and what your referee wants to do, or if you are the referee, what you want the crew to do. But typically, if the ball goes out of bounds, it's whoever's in charge of that line is the one who's supposed to be there and make that call. But the restart might be a little bit different. You can think sometimes the trail blowing the ball out of bounds along his sideline, that whole sideline. Let me see here. Now this, if we're right here, close this up a little bit, make it a little bit more. Trail might have the out of bounds for this line, and then the kid goes and runs the ball up. Well, actually, he should be here making that call, and then lead might have to reset his position. Kid steps in, lead blows the ball, and then singles right by the cage to pick up the play.
If lead is comfortable and doesn't want to get to that corner, lead could be five yards in into the box area telling trail, your whistle in, and now he watches the ball come in front of him. So we've got a nice triangle, a tighter triangle.
So a lot of it's going to depend on that communication in that moment, but also what your crew chief wants to do. And it's incumbent upon you, if you're in that role over the course of your games in a week or so, is to make that clear to your crew. Like, we're going to communicate. And in my crew, it's just, if you point to me and I'm not sure if it's my restart or not, I'm going to take it if everything else looks good to me. If I want you to take it for whatever reason, I'm going to point your way, or I'm going to tap my chest if I want it. But you got to communicate that verbally, non-verbally. Typically, when that player's going to run to get that ball on the end line or the sideline, just communicate in that situation so you're not wasting time.
Sometimes you'll hear a double whistle if there isn't good communication when the ball goes out of bounds on the penalty box area or the coach's bench area. Who's blowing the whistle as the ball goes out of bounds? It should be, or what I like to do, it's the trail. Which way is the ball going? Where's it going out of bounds? Because that's the gray area, that the no man's land. And if you keep in mind that whoever's the trail will blow it out, and then the trail will typically blow it back in.
We want the crew chief, the referee, to take charge, but we don't want the umpire and field judge to defer silently to him all the time. So if the lead is the crew chief and the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline, I would hope that the trail steps up and says, I got it, I'll blow it in, and which allows the lead to go where this slide is showing now. So that, well, I didn't want to say because he's the crew chief type of stuff doesn't fly. We're all out there together, and when we have to, the referee will take charge.
Don't say, well, you're the R. That's
right.
Not a statement.
That ain't going to help you.
No, nor is it. I couldn't make that call because, it wasn't, it was the R's call or throwing that that direction. That's another yeah, but statement in essence. But
yeah, I knew, but he was the ref. That ain't gonna help you.
Yeah. And just remember, to those of you guys who are crew chiefs or working into that role, still the best line that I've ever gotten was from Chris Clark. He goes, guys, maybe the crew chief out here, but all that means is that I'm here for a coin toss. All I do is do a coin toss. That's really the only difference here. Once the national anthem hits, we're all the same. We're all making the same calls.
And at the end of the day, he's the one filling out the report. Exactly.
So if you have to toss somebody, by all means do that when you're not the referee so that your buddy has the paperwork. Just speaking a little bit on the penalty relays, again, you guys can review these. We've got the videos that are up on this one. But probably the biggest one, once we have players moving off the field and trail relaying this to the table, is what you see the single side official doing. Lead and single are doing what's known as housekeeping. They're getting the rest of the field completely taken care of so that when trail finishes his report and turns his timer on, he can turn around, drop his hand into the ready signal, and then we can restart play. But let the goalie know where the ball is. Let him know how much time is left on the foul, what the foul is. If you guys have a visible clock, you might not have that, but if you do in your games in the regular season, or you should, hopefully, when we turn around before the restart, I'm looking at my partners. I go, hey, we're all leaving at 3:20, and that way we know that as a crew. So if the table has some issues, we can get that squared away. Jim, Dale, anything? Yeah.
Be on this. If the single has the flag, and the whistle blows, the single tells the lead, and it doesn't have to be formal on this one. 21 blue slash, or just 1 minute slash. He doesn't even have to tell them the number. He just has to says white, 1 minute slash. Then he gets out and he tells the trail formally, blue 32, white 17, 1 minute slash. Trail then reports it to the table. If the trail has the flag, he has to tell lead and single before he turns his back on them. If lead has the flag, he tells singles so that lead and single can set up the field, trail can tell the table, everybody's on the same page. We're not going to have a scoreboard clock on Saturday, but if there was a scoreboard clock, you'd look at the clock and say, penalty happened at 3:11, but ball penalty is going to be released at 2:11, so that everybody's on the same page. Everybody communicates.
And what you're going to see, the communication, this is after a timeout, it's not after a time-serving foul or anything, but you're going to see the single-side official far side with his hand in the air, and all the other officials get into position, and then what are they all doing? They're all giving the ready signal. They're all saying, and the single's just waiting. You never go through a stop sign with the hand in the air, with both hands in the air. You wait for that green light, that ready signal. And once those hands drop, then as soon as that happens, single, whoop, restart play. So that's a nice, easy example of all three officials on the same page. It looks nice and clean. The lead official is right on, a little bit below goal line extended. He's ready to crash the crease. A lot of good stuff in this very simple clip here from this game off of a timeout. But this is what you want to have happen after timeouts, after time-serving fouls, any extended dead ball situation. All three officials all know that we're ready to play, and we're going to restart, and here we go.
Lead official's got his feet planted, looking straight down the line. He might even want to just turn his body a little bit so he's looking more of an angle and seeing the whole field, so he can see 19 red without turning his head. And he can see that 5 is behind him, shading him a little bit, 5 white. So if he just turns his body a step, so he's looking up the field a little more instead of straight down the line, that would be perfect for him, because he doesn't know what 5's doing right now.
And speaking of that bit, this kind of brings us back to a little bit of transition. But as Dale was saying about, you're jogging up if you're behind the ball, this is going to become our new trail official, singles on the far side. You're going to see what we see at a good number of clinics, and this happens, so just be aware of it, is you're going to see a lighthouse in a little bit here. And this is an official who's, well,
walking.
Yep, and not really. This is going to be one where we're going to have words after the game and talk about what happened. And this is just walking, number 1, not staying outside the play, number 2, now acting as a pick, which is the last thing you want to be doing.
It's not only poor officiating and you can't see what's going on. You're putting yourself in danger. You can really get hurt. So you have to stay outside the play and give yourself that cushion.
He didn't expect the defenseman to come back. He should be out on the bottom of the 10.
Yeah, because if he didn't move up anywhere, he didn't really have to go anywhere. And now if we have a turnover, if this goalie misses the ball, single's already running up to the top of the attack box. If this kid misses and the red player picks it up, you've got a shot goal, and we've got an official who's 20 yards away, which you don't want to have in a transition situation. So if you're trail, stay below that thing, but also stay outside the play. Don't lighthouse.
You could have stayed on the bottom of the 10, the number 10, and as that kid rotated around, he should be following him, and he should be at the 5-yard line now, going in, watching that. Again, he's too stationary. Ball's behind him.
All right, so there was one other question that came up so David wants to know, Ratner, is there a formal mechanic when the field becomes even? I've had guys in various states throw their arms up with the thumbs up to let the crew know that it's all even. Normally this is the trail doing it after he gets into position. I'll do my little take on that one, and I'll turn it over to Jim. I've seen that. I've been a part of crews whose referees wants to do that. It's not an official mechanic. It's more of just another nonverbal communication for the crew to say, hey, we're 6-on-6. We're not worried about subs right now. Jim, have you seen that or done that at all?
Yeah, I've done a lot of it. Other people say we shouldn't be talking because it's telling the defense that they're all set, this and that. Once the guy is in and engaged, then you can, if you're telling them something new, then you're but it's more of an awareness for us as once the kid's settled in and he's starting to play D, you get the thumbs up or yell all even or something. Again, communication so that there's no confusion, especially if there's been multiple fouls. If like you're doing you're playing 4-on-4 and then 5-on-4 and then 6-on-5 and now it's finally 6-on-6. We're even. Let's go.
What was my last? I think there was anything I wanted on that one. Also,
I think Dale had a drop off.
Okay.
I'm still in. I'll be off in a minute or two. Sorry, guys. I look forward to meeting you on, is it not this weekend, but next weekend?
Next weekend, yeah.
I'll call you tomorrow, Dale, too.
Sounds good. Take care, gents. I'll meet you soon.
See you, Dale. So the last bit here, guys, again, you can review all the mechanic stuff as far as fights. If you have questions on that in terms of a three-man crew, please type them in or raise your hand. Jim, anything in particular you want to say about fights? I know we're supposed to have a nice jamboree environment, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about what we wanted. So just a quick thing here about what you're looking for if a crew runs into this.
Well, first of all, there's an awareness of what happened or what led up to this. If there was a crushing hit or a cheap shot or something, as soon as that cheap shot happened, use your feet and your whistle to get to wherever that occurred, so that when the third man in type of thing starts to come, you're already there and preventing it. 90% of fights can be prevented if you get there before the third guy comes in. And that type of awareness has to happen. If a fight occurs, blow your whistle loud and large, scream, get off, get off. Trail freezes the benches, just keep screaming, don't move, I got it, we got it. And do what you think is proper and necessary. Never grab a player, never push a player, never punch a player. Keep blowing your whistles, screaming it in their ears. Get in between people if it's safe. Do what's in your best judgment. We can't tell you what to do, because if you do it and someone gets hurt, we get sued. If you don't do it and someone gets hurt, you get sued. So we tell you to use your best judgment based on your experience and expertise.
And that's going to vary depending on the official and depending on the game and the level of play. But the biggest thing in a three-person crew that we don't get...
And best practices, but we can't tell you what...
Yeah, we can't give you the definitive do this or do that, because there's just too many situations. You got to apply your best judgment. That's why you're getting paid the big bucks. But if nothing else, Trail's going to freeze the benches, because we have that guy there. Someone's got to be freezing the benches. So that's kind of a key thing. Number one, we have that official in the three-man crew to utilize that person. All right, so that brings us, that's the mechanics overview. I know that was a ton of information, and it was also, Jim and Dale brought some things to a higher level. I highly recommend, if you have not done it already, because it is going to be a prerequisite for this weekend, is to complete the three-person mechanics webinar. It goes into more in-depth detail this, because we goes pretty well into each group here. You guys asked some different questions that we covered. I will be putting together an email out to you guys, Jim and Dale. I'll be having their contact info as well, so if you guys have specific questions you want to reach out to them before this, you'll be able to do that. But go to learning.uslacrosse.org, take the three-man mechanics webinar. You'll get a completion email. In that will be a certificate of completion. Forward that to Rich. You can also CC me onto that as well, but I'll pull a list just to double check that everyone has done that. You will also be enrolled. I'm going to hopefully say Friday. If not this Friday, then certainly on Monday. It just depends on how much I can edit based off of our task force edit suggestions for the new online course. I will be enrolling you guys in it. You will be the first officials in the country who get to take it. And also our trainers and observers will be enrolled in that at that time, looking for feedback on things. So that's going to give you a soup to nuts overview of everything about the NFHS rules for high school play. All the penalties, some sprinkling mechanics. A lot of it's going to be review for you guys, which is going to be a good thing, but it's also going to be helpful for me to get some feedback from you all on how the course worked for you. So it's going to be helpful in particular because I know Rich was saying everybody's kind of switching from football mode very rapidly. So this is going to help get you guys kind of right in line for NFHS rules. So again, Friday at the earliest, Monday at the latest is where I'm going to try to get that out to you guys. As far as the questions here, any idea when the 2018 NFHS rulebooks will be sent out? Aha. I will pull that up and show you. So if you were renewed as a US Lacrosse member on time, you will get your rulebook in December along with the magazine. If you want to order a hard copy right now, go to nfhs.com and you can order the Boys Lacrosse rulebook. It's priced out at $10 right now. There's going to be 2 digital versions, the iTunes or the Amazon version. They're not up yet. When they are, you'll get some messages from me. I'll be putting that out on a lot of different platforms. There's never going to be a PDF of the rulebook, so don't expect one. But we got hard copy and digital ones. And again, if you renewed on time before 9/30/2017, you'll get your rulebook if you selected the high school one by mid-December with your lacrosse magazine. Just a key thing here, Jim noted about the rulebooks, or not rulebooks, but the uniform. You're going to get a white USL hat. I am shipping these out to Rich either tomorrow or Friday, so everybody's going to get a hat. They're flex fit hats, so it really doesn't matter what size head you got. Bring your black hat as a backup just in case. Striped shirt with a collar, black undershirt, black belt, all black shorts, all black ankle socks, all black shoes, and shine your shoes before you show up. It's a good thing that if you're not already in the habit of doing that, to start that.
No
Get your uniform in.
No brown shirts.
Yeah, look the part. That's the biggest thing. And Jim and I have seen some doozies of officials who show up, and we're like, what in the heck? We send them right back into the hotel and say, go find another shirt. Like, this isn't going to work. So you want to look the part of the official, carry yourself with some pride, as well as representing kind of all of officiating, your LOA, the officials in Louisiana, as well as USL officials as a whole. So that's going to be kind of a big thing there. We'll get to see those kind of mountains next weekend, but we'll get a good group picture with everybody.
This is Mike Highland and myself, that picture. Mike and I out in Vail a couple of years ago. That might have been the best crew. This was the first time we didn't bring any crew chiefs in. We just used all campers, and we had a double overtime game where Team Oregon beat the team from Baltimore in overtime in the finals, and just a great game. And we recommended 4 people out of that group right into the college, and one was already in college, and we recommended him moving up, and it was just a great experience and intensity of games. We also told 2 of them that they had to keep working. We had tremendous officials, and we had 2 guys that needed some more experience, and I'm sure that's what will happen a couple of weeks.
So I do want to stress, because a couple of you guys did ask, it's all black shorts. There are no stripes involved. There's no other graphics. If you do not have a pair of all black shorts, go to Kohl's, go to Target. I bought a whole bunch of them. They're all like $25. So get yourself an all black pair of shorts.
No cargo shorts.
No cargo either, yeah. Or dark denim. It just doesn't work well. All right, so just a couple of tips for success. Again, this is some things that officials have either sent to me in surveys or that I've asked around. But take notes. If you haven't already brought a composition notebook, get one, or notepad, stuff that you can write down and review later. You're going to be getting a formal written evaluation after this. That's going to be a collective evaluation from all the observers, Jim and Dale, and then Jim will be signing off on all of the evaluations when they're all said and done. So everyone's going to have his expert eye on things, but it's going to be a collective observation between all the observers over all the games you work on the 18th. So that's going to be very helpful for you to review things for the upcoming season and throughout the season. I still have my evals, and I'll be keeping a copy of your evaluations on file, so if you ever lose it, you can get it back from me. Keep an open mind. You're here to get better, and you're going to hear some things that might be radically different from what you're used to or the norm, because things have shifted and you either haven't heard about it or it's just a local flavor. It's all okay. The whole purpose of this clinic program is to get us all on the same page as officials collectively across the country, and so to that you're just going to get the most up-to-date mechanics and the best practices for game management from Jim and Dale and your other observers. Definitely ask questions. You're going to be kind of limited in the amount of time that we have right after games, but we are building in, Rich is building into the schedule, kind of big group debrief periods with a morning session and an afternoon session of officials. But I highly recommend, if you don't have a game, sit next to the observers. Get your own folding chair, sit next to these guys, listen in if the crew is okay with it, to the evals after the game. You're going to pick up a ton just from listening in or asking questions during the game to the observers as they're watching. Watch those crews. That kind of falls into another thing. It's very, you can get a piece of information and then you can watch an official either do the correct thing or not do the correct thing, and it just kind of solidifies why that piece of criticism or critique was sent or was given to you. So just very helpful to watch crews after already have gotten critiqued. Support your partners. Somebody makes a great call, man, shoot, if they do something great, let them know it. This is probably one of my biggest things is, even if I'm on the field or if I'm evaluating guys, I let them know when they do a damn good job because we don't really get a whole lot of positive praise in our profession. It's just kind of the nature of what it is. So I think it's incumbent upon us to really support one another, not only as observers but also just officials on the field. So we're there. We're the third team, and it's to help each other out. And then finally, just be accountable. If somebody says you missed something, don't yeah but Jim, don't yeah but Taylor or Rich for the other observers. Just nod your head, be like, okay. If you disagree with it, then we'll talk in private. But we're not here to make a scene or anything like that. We're here to give you what we see. And it's going to be things, like I said before, that you probably have not gotten before because you haven't been seen before. Or you just haven't gotten film of yourself. It's just things you're not aware of. So you're going to get a lot of that. So just if somebody says, hey, you missed this, or you turn it up, you're like, yep, you know what, you're right. And I know you're right because you've been doing this for a while, and you're being honest with me, so I'm going to do that better in the future. So quick question here, Rich, this might actually be a bit more directed to you. Will we be having real pre-games before every game, or is it more like a tournament where there's just hop on the field and go? Rich, you want to speak to the kind of time that we have as crews?
Yeah, I've made a few notes while this is going along. First of all, everyone bring a chair so you can sit next to the field when you don't have a game. Everyone is going to have 3 games at least, and you're not going to have back-to-back games. So the way that this is going to work, or at least I have it in my head it's going to work, is we will have a tent set up next to each field for the observers to use so they can sit and debrief. When a game ends, there's only 5 minutes between games. But we expect a debrief to take roughly 10 minutes on average. So the next game is going to start, but that's okay. The observer is going to take their time with that crew that just came off and is still going to have plenty of time to critique the next crew that's on the field.
Right, so, and then that crew coming on should be, since they're not doing back-to-back games, they should be able to meet before the game and get to the field together and do some talking.
Right, get together like a normal pregame. Talk about communication. Once again, communication is the most important part. So, we're going to try to have the schedule out to everyone, several days in advance, but you should have time to spend, 10 or 15 minutes before the game with your crew, with the guys that are going on so y'all can talk and work out some of these kinks instead of just, like the normal tournament, stepping cold, game after game after game. The other thing, Jim and Dale both know that several of us are going to be coming up with football games on Friday night, and we're coming off a football season. Some that don't do football may not have done a lacrosse game since, April. So I would expect that the first game is going to be a little rusty. That's why everyone's getting 3. By the third one, we should be able to take the observations that we've gotten and hopefully incorporate them into the games. So the whole point of this is, these written observations, it's going to have really nothing to do with assignments. It's just an opportunity to improve, be more consistent when we're on the field, and just make us better as an association. And it's something that most of us have never gotten an after. So I think it's going to be eye-opening for everyone. I'm going to have mine done, and I'm sure Jim's going to write quite a few things on it. But you learn more from your failures than you do
And
your successes. So, you know.
And that's to echo that. It's there's never been one. No one's refed a perfect game. It sounds cliched but it is, and it's true. But it's also a point of you want that observer to be writing things down in your game, even if it's nitpicking stuff. You want that sheet to be pretty good and well full, because that means that's the observer telling you that I see worth in you, and I'm hearing you see the critiques I'm giving you and applying them and adjusting. And so now I have new things, because now we're always working on something else. So just never go it's like, no, I got nothing for you, because there's really no such thing as an evaluation that does that. There's always something that you can get a little bit better at. And to one other question, are all the games 3-person? Yes. Correct, Rich?
Yes,
all
they
the
are.
ones we're doing are 3. Cool. So you're all doing
all
3.
person.
So, get to work on those mechanics. I'll be sending you guys the video clips off of Google Drive. I'll share those with you guys along with this presentation and this recording once I get that up on YouTube. So you guys will be able to check that out. And, yeah, that's all that I have. Other questions from the group, if you guys can think of them and want to type them in or just raise your hand and ask, feel free to say that. Otherwise, we'll
Well,
wrap this
that's
up.
going on again to piggyback on what Rich said. I'm looking at 4 things. I call it Papa. I'm looking for your presence on the field, and that's your confidence. That's the equipment you're carrying, your body language, your presence on the field. How do you look? You look like you're the leader, or you look like you're looking for someone to follow. The second thing I'm looking for is your awareness. Okay, what type of field are we on? What type of players? What type of uniforms do they have? What type of coach do we have? If he's yelling at his players before the game and dropping a F-bomb here or an F-bomb there before the game, be aware that you're going to be dealing with that during the game, type of thing. Awareness when restarting play. Is this guy looking to do a running restart, or is this guy going to just come onto the field properly? Where are your partners at all times? Awareness of the tenor and mood of the game. Your positioning. We talked a lot about positioning tonight, but where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and then the anticipation of the play. Again, and I'm going to throw a couple cliches at you and a couple comments. Ref the game that you're reffing. Ref the game you're there for. Don't ref the rule book. Don't ref the game you just left and the critique you just have. Ref the game you're at, not the rule book. And real important, it's not what happened that's important during the game. It's not what happened that's important. It's how you respond to what happened. That's what's important for leadership, game management, competence, communication, courage. Put all those C's in there. It's how you respond to what's happening. And all that is rolled up into your anticipation, positioning, awareness, and presence. And I'm looking forward to having some fun down there.
I like it. I got a new acronym I can use. Sweet. That's good stuff, Jim. I appreciate that. Rich, anything in particular you want to say here before we sign off?
Weather's going to be good, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be low to mid 70s. Very low chance of rain.
Whoever's in charge of the weather, you just make sure they're doing their job.
There you go.
Well, if it's not perfect, it's Darren's fault.
There it is.
And he can't even answer back because he's muted.
Well, good stuff. Well, again, you guys will get a couple messages from me tomorrow with some more information on things, and then as soon as I have you guys or the course ready to go, I will enroll you. You'll get an auto email from uslacrosse.org just saying, like, hey, you've been enrolled in this course. Just go ahead and accept that. Check it out when you can. And I will keep Rich up to date on who has completed the webinar, this webinar, certainly it's most of all of you who's watched the recording, and then who all has watched or not watched the 3-man webinar. So check that stuff out. If you have any issues accessing anything, please give me a call, shoot me an email. Again, my extension is 177. You've got my email plenty of times already. Reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. Jim, Rich, really appreciate it. I got a note from Dale. He's excited to come on down. Yeah, we're excited to see how we can make you guys better. We know that we're coming down to a captive audience, so excited to see what you guys can do. Excited to work with you in another week or so.
Sounds good.
All right, gentlemen. Have a great rest of your evening.
Hey,
Hey, Gord, thanks, Gord.
Yeah.
Great job.
Jim,
What's
can
up?
y'all stay on for a minute?
Yeah, we'll stay on.
Hotels.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Let's see here. Let me stop recording this. So